Alrighty, good morning. I called this one PR terrorists because what I want to speak about is how terrorism, especially this current manifestation of terrorism by Hamas and say organisations like the Irish Republican Army and their political wing Sinn Féin, relies solely on media and public relations to be effective, which creates a situation. See, baseline terrorism. Say I wanted to terrorise the suburb that I'm in, which is Kingsley. Then, say I could blow up a fucking hotel in Bali filled with a football team from Kingsley, just hypothetically. And that might send them... No, I'm kidding. Well, obviously I'm not kidding, because that was a serious incident that did actually occur. That's terrorism. I can't even remember what or why or how, when, where, what exactly was going on there. But say I was wanting to move into the West Australian glass supplying industry, and say I took an invasionary organisation like Tough Glass, which is real, these are all people, and say I went in there and planted explosives in their factory and I blew every single fucking piece of glass and machinery that they had up with explosives, that would be described as terrorism. I don't need media because it's held within, when you get to your factory in the morning and everything is blown up, you know that somebody is trying to terrorize you out of the place that you're in. That would be terrorism, right? That's very close, very small example of terrorism. But what is happening now is this, for now 2 to 3 years, however long this war's been going on, our entire country, the entire world is constantly held within the public relations strategy of Hamas, which is a terrorist organization that was leading the, whatever you call it, of Gaza, of Palestine. So you'll see that this all exists within this media paradigm. That's why I don't exist within that paradigm, because that's not at all the way that any of these political diplomatic relations have ever been formed. It's literally the cart leading the horse. So when you, at this dying day of a territorial dispute that is basically unfolding exactly the same as any other place, we're talking about a tiny little region here that has been absolutely conquered, yet we are supposed to perpetually create this discussion point, but that's holding the people there. So there's no flow of any of these things because we're stuck in media, because the argument of the terrorists, and this is what happens this is why, what's the catch cry? It's in so many movies. We don't negotiate with terrorists. Why? Because when you negotiate with terrorists, you turn the whole fucking world into a terrorist playground, right? And so considering my entire family, my business, my reputation, my stake claim on this land base has all been constantly attacked by the media encapsulation of this, overseas, very, very far away conflict, has been the smokescreen in order for the IRA, Irish Republican Army, to steal my children and to blow up my business. right? And I'm refusing to participate in terrorism. I'm attempting to play this game of media, which is what Anthony Albanese is basically signing off on. He's saying, I approve of terrorist action. So that means hang gliding into a music festival and taking hostages and decapitating people and burning babies and raping women, as long as then it goes around the world as a unified movement of protests that disrupt our cities, disrupt our economies, disrupt our businesses, disrupt our infrastructure, cost us billions of dollars. So that, as far as our Prime Minister is saying, is a legitimate diplomatic strategy. So I guess I'll start blowing shit up. See, I've been in the old paradigm. I've just been in the diplomacy paradigm. I've been trying to reunite, historic bonds, things that we've already established in good order and in peaceful order, mostly peaceful order within our own inhabitants. Yes, there was displacement of Aboriginal people, but you are all guilty of that right now. You're guilty of that. The area that you take up on your land base, wherever your car is parked or whether your lawn is, you're displacing Aboriginal people every day. It's continuous. It's never ending. You're doing that. You're participating in that. But I've been trying to stay within legal discourse. The problem is, once this is established as an acceptable means for diplomacy, then everybody is then forced to play that game. It's legitimised. Our Prime Minister has just, and the Prime Minister of the UK, whatever the UK is, as I stated in one of my Facebook things yesterday, both my parents were subjects of the British Empire. And so I'm a subject of the British Empire. My claim is in Tasmania, which is a independent, sovereign nation of its own. It's a kingdom of its own. It's a kingdom it makes up part of the historic kingdoms of England. And there was no terrorism involved, because there can be no media exposure of any of this unless you blow something up. If I blow something up, fucking hell, I'll be on the news tomorrow. Then I'll be playing ball with the big boys. But that seems like a weird precedent to set. And I'm still sitting on my hands. My gunpowder days are behind me. I did, in my younger, very reckless years, when I was a very keen environmentalist, I did consider exploding dams and blowing up mining companies and doing things like that, which would have been classed as environmental terrorism. That, I was literally part of a underground environmental terrorist organization that was getting ready to sabotage mining companies and dams, you know what I mean, like civilizational infrastructure and things like that. And I don't know, I kind of put all my work into innovation and education and exploring, what's actually going on, what is the state of what we're living in. But while I was doing that, while I was coming up with other strategies apart from dynamite and explosives, a terrorist organization in the Middle East has taken the world by storm and is being legitimized. But we need to get down to this. Like, Anthony Albanese is not the Prime Minister of. You can't see, they have to legitimize it because they've used the same tactics. There's no doubt in my mind that a huge portion of British subjects, now known as UK citizens, in England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Australia, New Zealand, wherever, would now claim, if they believed that they weren't going to be in danger, that's the problem with negotiating with terrorists, they would claim that Keir Starmer and Anthony Albanese, formerly Justin Trudeau, are the largest terrorists on earth, legitimizing an even, more explosive, literally, terrorist organization in the form of Hamas, side by side with the Irish Republican Army in some type of big terrorist gang And I think what happens, see, when I have people commenting on here, terrorists or associates of known terrorists, documented terrorists, kind of balking me. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, you don't do anything. Oh, we've got your children. That's what's basically taking place there. We've got, how was your Father's Day? You know, because this is what happens when there isn't violent retaliation, but violent retaliation would lead to me being imprisoned. But I'm participating in the actual state of affairs for the entire history of Australia, you know, linked to like lots of different states, back to historic precedents and historic documents. So this is what I'm saying. It's like Anthony Albanese is not the Prime Minister of Australia. We don't have a Prime Minister of Australia right now. Like Keir Starmer cannot. He's the Prime Minister of what? The United Kingdom. Okay, how long's that structure that you're governing been around? And it's like, what is that? What is that tied to? And is that taking into account the very complex interactions between former colonies and British subjects and families of this, participants of you know, infrastructure and civil construction and civil society and religious what all these things? No, you've basically gathered a bunch of welfare recipients and you're claiming to rule England based on this. I think you've lost sight of the game. I think you all have. I think it's time to surrender. Nobody is listening to this. The minute that I really feel like your encroachment is an actual threat, I will start blowing shit up and I will take a video camera and I will film the explosion. I won't participate in rape or beheading or murdering children because that's just very crass. I especially won't do that from a hang glider. I'll use the incredibly interconnected, complex system of societal Australian, you know, civilian militia, and I will decompartmentalize every single part of your terrorist organization day by day. And I will fucking project it onto every major fucking news station across the entire fucking world with a Union Jack flying the entire fucking time. We didn't participate in terrorism. That's why it takes so long. That's why there's so many complicated pieces of thing. If we could have done it with hang gliders and fucking video cameras and GoPros, we would have done that. At any point, I can put a fucking GoPro on and go and hideously fucking rape and murder some fucking people. But I just thought we were trying to send the message that that's not acceptable. And it gets very hard to get that message out, especially now when we live in this viral clickbait digital infrastructure world where we no longer have good movies because you can't, because they're too slow and expensive to make. However could you make The Sound of Music when you have the Hamas version of The Sound of Music, which includes real life murder and rape, which includes real life taking over of cities constantly with 100+ fucking protests in a year, costing the state governments billions or millions, whatever, hundreds of millions of dollars, completely hijacking the world's media environment, so that nothing that doesn't end in a blockbuster explosion with two people walking away slowly is ever going to blip onto anyone's radar. Radar? What's that? Oh, that's an old-timey thing that we used to use to see if ships were coming, but people don't use ships anymore because they just use hang gliders, GoPros, and fucking channels fucking 9 News. And the Prime Minister. Why does he do that? I don't know. Maybe they gave him some free coupons to the fucking Thai blowjob fucking parlor that there has been an extraordinary emergence of. When I was a child, there was one place that said massage on it. One fucking place. I used to drive from my mother's house to the place that my father was forced to go after she stole his property. And on that drive, I would see one massage place and I would giggle and I'd go, "What's that?" My dad would be like, "That's a massage place." That's it. Now I could take a little tour around the city streets of the CBD of Australia and I see nothing but massage parlors. That's a form of terrorism, isn't it? That's why, like, what was those shows called? Underbelly, King of the Cross, because King's Cross was the little place in Sydney you would go to do those types of things. It was a tiny little place, and there was this kind of hierarchy of fucking underworld figures, and that's Australian history. Being able to project in from fucking downtown Gaza didn't work. Because why would it? There was only newspapers. So you'd have to convince a newspaper, and that just wouldn't work. There weren't video cameras to film the explosions and the beheadings and the murders and the rapes and the burnings and the hang gliders. So it didn't work. So this is the thing. This is the GoPro fucking World War III, GoPro World War III. Well, I can tell you that that's only going to lead to one thing. Hamas has got a head start. The IRA has got a head start. The fucking evil, fucking hideous extreme left has got a fucking head start. But the problem is that now somebody working for the order and peace of humanity, the re-establishment of good order, is a former fucking trained fucking terrorist that just can't wait. I can't wait to start blowing up fucking mines and dams. I spent my fucking 20s fantasizing and planning intricately about how I would do such things. And when that happened, you know what I mean? When I have pictures of platypuses being fucking released into waterways and I don't know, wallabies being released from fucking mine sites, you know what I mean? And flaming piles of fucking Rio Tinto and BHP garbage patches. You know what I mean? Buildings fucking being abandoned en masse with, you know, cardboard boxes in hand as all these extraction industry employees are fucking let off under terrorism. This is the new order. We've just heard it from the horse's mouth, from Keir Starmer, from Anthony Albanese, from the Prime Minister of Canada. Terrorism is the hottest fucking thing on earth right now. And it doesn't need to be confined to some type of religious holy land, you know, multi-thousand-year conflict. It could be whatever. If you don't get nuggets in your KFC, blow the fucking place up. Albo said it's sweet. It's sweet as. If they don't put your sweet and sour sauce in there, you know what I mean? Plow through the front window with a fucking four-wheel drive. There's never been a more fucking optimistic future for potential rebels without a cause, for fucking just international vandals. And as long as you've got a GoPro and you've got a flag, everything's going to be all fine. This is the new renaissance of fucking destruction. Let's take what we learned from the footage again, from the filmed riots of Black Lives Matter, and let's turn that up to 11. Let's turn it the whole fucking way up to 11. Let's get water pistols spraying Roundup on every fucking suburban lawn. Because Albo said that's what he wants. He's our Prime Minister after all. And if we don't do as we're fucking told and blow up fucking Western civilization as far as we know it, then he might put us in jail and make us watch reruns of fucking Bold and the Beautiful while we eat fucking, I don't know, toast with little fucking independently packaged plastic Vegemites and fucking jam. And that's boring as fuck. Why would you want to fucking spend your time wasting away in a prison cell when you can fucking arm your fucking Hilux with militia and go raiding the good guys' stores to liberate those vacuum cleaners and put them into the rightful owners of those single mums that will thank you vigorously for their new asset? This is the modern world as Albanese sees it. Everyone's been waiting for that moment, like on Back to the Future, when Donald Trump becomes Biff and the whole world is turned into a fucking shit flaming fucking casino. But they got it wrong. It wasn't Trump. Trump just wants to play golf in Scotland. The real fucking version of that story is Anthony Albanese, the little fucking boy on his mother's fucking, you know, housing estate floor, dreaming of the destruction of the Western world. And his dream is coming true, and so can yours. Because there's never been a better time. Now, a man with that glint, that homicidal, psychotic glint in his eye, you know, enough fucking money for a down payment on a GoPro and a YouTube account, can now fucking take the world by storm. They don't need to read books about diplomacy. history, politics, Western world, Greek traditions, Western traditions, psychology, any of these things. There is an instant ability to go from spark of idea to hideous fucking murderous fucking destruction in the blink of an eye. There is absolutely no way that authorities can ever compound or be effective in dealing with this, because it is so sporadic. Every single person, extremized online playing Fortnite can now just manifest their fucking destiny like that and get their chance to be on the news, like that bloke who just killed that other bloke. It's the Wild West world, sponsored by Hamas and the Irish Republican Army, signed off by so-called prime ministers of the Western world, Anthony Albanese, Keir Starmer, and that bloke from Ireland that, I don't know, used to work for the Bank of England. It's all on. And don't delay. You know what I mean? Start your terrorist journey today.